Hello, everyone. This is Zami Abgazerwan from FilmFestivalCircuit.com and the assistant director of the Austin Comedy Film Festival. Right now, we're gearing up for our fall 2023 screening, which is going to take place on October 12th at Central Machine Works in Austin, Texas. And today, we're talking with two of our participating screenwriters. Taylor Fredricks and Ryan Castro are the writers behind Basil King. Thank you both so much for meeting with me today.
Hey, we're happy to be here.
Yeah, pleasure.
So tell me, briefly, what is Basil King about?
All right. Well, I'm gonna throw you the little log line here. It's
Okay.
well, first of all, I mean, the biggest thing about Basil King is we're trying to bring back the R-rated comedy. I mean, can you tell me the last time you saw a hilarious comedy? Does anything pop in your mind right away?
Not right away.
Right. Yeah. I mean, like I think for us, it's been like Tropic Thunder. I think was the last like hilarious out of the box
Totally.
comedy that just kind of just overstepped every bound it possibly could.
I was
So
thinking
we're trying to,
Hangover. Similar
yeah,
era. Yeah.
for sure, for sure. So I mean, Basil King is essentially if you took Goodfellas and Eastbound and Down. Imagine if they had a baby, okay, and that baby was raised by Tropic Thunder, you'd get Basil King. And
Awesome.
so pretty much we got the pilot script out right now for it. And pretty much the log line for that is a late night business meeting results in the brutal murder of a pizzeria owner. And three overzealous gangster wannabes are forced to dispose of the body. But they are about to come to terms with a lack of expertise as one wrong move thrusts all three of them into a grave too deep to climb out.
I love it. Okay, totally. Well, tell me a little bit more about your inspirations behind this one.
You want to go on that?
Yeah, it was more or less kind of like at the everything around the times too, where with Jeffrey Bezos being a big like Jeff Bezos being a big thing and Elon Musk being a big thing. And I remember one day we were just kind of like making fun of like how rich they are, and we were sitting in a pizzeria and we were looking at toppings that that were going on, and like one of like $3.99 for basil for a topping. We're like, God damn, dude, like the basil business is killing it. And so we ended up just using like life and the art kind of in a way, like
Totally.
let's make fun of these guys and let's
I
stick it
love
to
it.
the man in a way.
Okay, so it's a little bit topical. It's working with our current climate, but it's also trying to get back to some of that off the wall R-rated comedy like we
Right.
grew up with.
100%.
Okay, cool. Well, tell me a little bit about the tone of this comedy. What's it going to be? Is it absurd? Is it outlandish? Is it going to be animated, live action? What's your plans?
It's gonna be live action. It's definitely a dark comedy. So I mean, we're kind of like getting to the point where we're overstepping bounds a little bit because that's at a point like where you're saying bringing back the R-rated comedy. What we mean by that is like there's all the comedies now they seem so forced, and there's some good stuff that comes out every now and then, but like nothing that's just kind of like everything is kind of like people pleasing in a sense to where it's like I don't want to get canceled. I'm afraid of getting canceled. So what can we write that's not going to get us canceled and that people will like it? At that point, we kind of said, "Fuck that. We're throwing all that out the window." And we're kind of like just saying, hey, we're just going to write what we want to write and make it as funny as possible and make it as violent as possible because it is a mafia story.
Totally.
So we want to add that with the humor side of it with these three guys who are just clueless but like the most likable killers you'll probably ever meet.
I love that. Well, any thoughts on that, Ryan?
Yeah, like again, we're just trying to do like something that's like in our generation piece. I guess like I said, we all grew up with super bad and like all these
Right.
movies, American Pie, and all these like kind of where these movies like cross the line now if you watch them.
Right.
So it's like I think recently we was watched again with Night at the Roxbury. And
Mm-hmm.
you like think of that movie as like it's a little like like misogynistic, isn't it? When you watch it, it's like it's totally a movie about just two bros loving each other. So it's just like you're trying to bring that innocence, and yet
Yeah,
it's still like these like really like in these very crude and outlandish like scenes is like what we're like kind of really trying to do.
totally. Well, you touched on something really great there that I think is in the meta of these comedies that they're so, R-rated, so to speak. They're so out of bounds, but they always center around this kind of naive innocence, which is
Right.
the hook, which makes us love those characters.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
Tell me a little bit about what's the writing process like. I love a writing duo. What's the process like?
Well, it's actually a trio. We have our third buddy, Isaac Scego. He actually we brought him on board. We met him last year at Lake Travis Film Festival here
Okay.
in town, and I mean, he's 20 years old. Like, I mean, this kid is just like hungry, you know. And he's like, okay, I met him, and I was like, hey. He's like, oh, at the time I met him, he's like, yeah, I'm writing a script a day. I'm like, Jesus Christ, dude. Like, because I mean, like, it's the point with Castro and I. It's like, you know, we're not necessarily a fan of writing. We just like creating content and idealizing certain things. And we had the pilot script already written essentially, but then we got Isaac on board and we were like, hey man, we want to create like we have this 6 episode season in mind for this Basil King idea. And I was like, hey, here, if we want, we'll give you the pilot and then we'll give you all the ideas, all the plot points for all the rest of the episodes. How do you feel about coming on board as a co-writer, co-producer, and knocking that out and seeing what we come up with, making the tweaks and just kind of perfecting it? And he's like, yeah, he's like, I got a few things I'm working on right now, but I'll try and, you know, within the next couple of weeks, I'll try and get you a revised pilot. Literally the next day, he was like, hey, here's a revised pilot. And we're like, all right, dude. So it's just at that point, we just kept revising, and had different meetings where we get together and just kind of sculpt out the ideas we had for it and making it better. And then actually the pilot that ended up getting accepted into Austin Comedy was our most recent draft that we probably wrote a couple months ago. And it's one of the best drafts that we've written for it, and we're super fucking proud of it.
Awesome.
Yeah, and it's kind of like writing as a duo. It's one of those things where we're just kind of clashing off each other, and then having like somebody like Isaac kind of being like the stenographer at the side, like
Right.
oh no, you guys, don't like continue the idea while we continue writing like the. It's like kind of nice like having that little like back and forth while someone's out there like taking down the notes.
Totally. And if Isaac's someone who's really like structure oriented and stuff like that, that always helps. But I'm curious, you guys have good rapport with each other, and it sounds like this script kind of came about just one day when you're joking around. What's the process like from just joking around? Obviously, I'm sure you guys spitball all day long with jokes and ideas, but what's it like to take like a little observational joke and then think, all right, this is what I want to turn it into? What's that step like?
Man, it's building a universe around that one thing. It really is.
Yeah.
It's like as soon as you get that one little like let me build around this one character, and it really does start coming together. Like this is his best friend. This is this, and and it starts really starts forming into like this like episode in your head, and like oh wow.
Because I mean, like, was it the last thing that we did was Jimmy Arcurio? That was the last web series that we did. It was a COVID project, and we had Rebel Without a Beer, which was like the last episode that we did for Jimmy, and it was in Austin Comedy last year.
I'm remembering these now, totally.
Yeah, shopping cart racing, all that fun shit. And that was the first time trying to do in a web series, and that was not really structured. It was more so like episodic, where it's like, all right, every episode's different. We're just kind of messing with different themes and parodies and stuff like that. So this one, we're like, all right, ended up writing 6 episodes that have this long storyline that goes throughout all of it, and then piecing everything together, and then having it all there and be like, hey, actually, we have this in episode 2. We need to switch that so it makes more sense for episode 5 or whatever. And then everything just starts clicking together, which is a whole different thing, to where it's like, all right, with Jimmy, it was like we write an episode and then we shoot it. And then we write another episode, then we shoot it. Then maybe, episodes later, we'll start connecting dots and Easter eggs and all that. But this was a different process. Yeah.
Like aspect.
Okay. Well, it's interesting. It seems like from one nugget of an idea, you've now kind of the puzzles pieces have assembled to create a whole season. It sounds like.
Oh yeah,
that's very cool. Well, now I have another question about writing as well. Is what's your guys' mantra for coming up with characters? I've heard a lot of different stuff. Some people pull straight from absurdity archetypes. Some people are like, yeah, this is just my buddy like Ted, but I've turned him into dialed him up to 11 or something. What's that process like? Are you writing yourselves into it? Are you writing people you know?
I think it's kind of like a lot of ourselves into this. It's one of those things where it's like you can find our like characters in there a little bit. And it's like, oh, let's just take this like narcissistic part of you and like crank it up like you're saying to like
Yeah,
11, and like it just makes the joke funnier because like we like how to act it out.
Right. Yeah. Because I mean, he's essentially Ryan's playing the main character, Jeff Bezos, and I'm playing his right hand man, Tony Smokes. And, it's very, like I said, it's, we're all talking like this, very Jersey Boston aspect,
Right.
of it. But we're all playing like these Italian roles and tropes and stuff as well. And so it's like, even with my character, he's like this sensible, like, best friend type,
Right.
that's like, hey, no matter what happens, I'm there for my homie regardless, even though he's just like this like dumb idiot in a sense, like.
Yeah, those are real conversations.
The true dynamic. I love it.
Yeah.
Well, that's great. Well, I'm curious, what have you guys learned from this process? It seems like you've done quite a few things together, but did you take any new insights just from this current work?
Yeah, and making movies is hard, man.
I mean, I guess the big thing right now, I mean, we're in the middle of a crowdfunding campaign on Indiegogo to try and raise money for this pilot script. We actually last weekend we won for best short form TV pilot at Austin Spotlight. And
Oh,
so
awesome.
like, we've been getting into all these different festivals and winning awards for it. So it's like we have an award-winning script, and now we're just trying to get the funding to make it actually happen. So yeah, we're currently just on the Indiegogo campaign right now, trying to raise money for it. And I think that's the biggest hurdle I think right now is just funding.
Right.
But I feel like that usually comes with every project,
Totally.
With something like rolled out of beer, we came out of like something that was just friends and handshakes, and it's like, oh yeah, we got it made. Now we're doing something like this. It's like we want to do this like how it should be done, and like
Totally.
as far as like all that stuff. So it's really new, but still interesting to like get through this process too. We're all learning from it.
Yeah, we're trying to take what Rebel Without a Beer was like, more of like a guerrilla style filmmaking, which what I'm really used to in all the films I made is very skeleton crew, very guerrilla filmmaking, asking for favors, all that. But now we're like, all right, well, we kind of want to, make sure that we get obviously the right people on. We have a lot of people that are already down for it and that helped on the trailer, and we definitely want to bring them back. But it's like, we also want to make sure that these people are paid and taken care of. And that's the biggest thing at this point, because we know this is a very overly ambitious pilot. So we're like, it's going to be a few days of shooting, and we want to make sure everyone, isn't losing sleep and is still able to have food on their plates after the end of it,
Well, I love that you guys have made tons of projects together. Your script has momentum. You're trying to do this one right. I feel like everything will fall into place because I feel like the trajectory is great. Is there anything else you guys would like to add about Basil King?
Anything?
I think we got it.
Just contribute and share the Indiegogo campaign so we can get the funds for it.
Absolutely, will do. And that's great. Well, it's good because you guys got an action item. People can help once they hear how cool the project is.
It's a cool project. Like I said, I don't know anyone who's really been successfully bringing back the R-rated comedy, and I think we have a strong shot at it. And so, yeah, and I guess if people are going to be at the Austin Comedy Film Festival next week, then you'll probably see us there.
Excellent. Well, thank you both so much for talking with me. I know Basil King's going to get made. I know it's going to be great, and I can't wait.
Hell yeah, I appreciate you, bro.
Thank you.
Well, you guys take care.
See you, man.
Bye.